Serious, what was your biggest "we need to leave now" moment? When I was about 16, I went to visit my grandmother at her place. The smell of natural gas was intense. Even though Nana didn't seem to notice it much, she was groggy, sort of half asleep, not her usual responsive self. So I made her get out of the house at once and opened the windows and doors. I called Dad and he reported it to the gas company, who sent inspectors right away. They shut off the gas valve in the street immediately and sent a repair crew to fix a leaking joint in the gas supply pipe. The inspector said that if I hadn't acted then and there, the probability was great that there would soon have been an explosion. Probably 2 months after my wedding, I invited my then best friend, maid of honor, to a party my husband and I were going to. She agreed. Sometime into it, I'm drunk and in the pool and my husband swims out to me to tell me she just asked him to sleep with her. I have never sobered up or left somewhere so fast. Met this cute girl at a party, spent the whole night dancing or flirting, offered to drive her home and she agreed. We were making out in the car in front of her house when another car pulls up with their headlights beaming at us. I ask if that's a neighbor and if we're blocking their driveway. She replies, "No, that's my husband." Husband's car door opens and I noped the hell out of there, dropped her straight back at the party and never saw her again. Her excuse was that they were separated and he shouldn't have a problem with it. I sure wasn't sticking around to find out. Woodstock 99. Felt the energy of the grossly overpacked crowd, the building rage, and looked my friends and said we need to go. They stayed. I left. Shortly after fire and riots started and my friends lost everything they had with them. Tents, clothes, food, everything. When you have 300k people shoulder to shoulder in 104-degree humidity and charge $4 for a bottle of water and have half as many bathrooms as needed, you're gonna have a bad time. Showed up to a party. Some people were outside fighting. My GF at the time and I decided to leave. Not long after that some guys that were a part of the first fight came back with more and the shooting occurred. So I was waiting at the train station to pick up a friend of mine. I was early so I decided to stand in the sun right outside of the station. A guy with a bicycle walked up to me asking in broken English if I knew how late the train would arrive. After I answered the question he stayed around and starting talking to me. Now I know that's not weird at all, but the things he asked and the way he acted and looked just gave me a creepy vibe. Eventually he asked if I would walk with him while he dropped his bicycle off. I didn't want to because the place to store bicycles at this station is very secluded and to be honest I didn't want to be alone with this guy. So I noped out and walked into the station. He started yelling at me, calling me names, but at that moment the train came in and it got very busy. So he left. A few months later I read this article in the local paper about a girl being assaulted at the station. They had put a drawing of a guy next to the article as he was not yet caught. It was the same guy. To this day I'm very happy I didn't go with him. The owner of Mexican restaurant threw 2 young farm workers at the bar out to the parking lot. They were drunk as monkeys and proceeded to try to fight, but mostly just leaned on each other, all in front of the picture window while the place is full of people. Then one runs to his trucks and burns rubber out of there. I said, "Time to go, honey." She says, "What? Those a-holes aren't done and I'm not going to be here when the shooting starts." We left. It did. Not long after. Late afternoon in the summer, I'm waiting in the bus station near my house. Most businesses are closed. Not a lot of cars in the street. Guy passes in front of me. He passes again 2 minutes later, watching me suspiciously. Alarms start to go in my head, screaming to me that I need to leave and get the F off here. But I ignore it since the bus will come in 10 minutes. Third time he passes, he charges to me, pushing me to the wall. I freeze for some seconds then start punching and kicking him. I manage to get away and the rest is history. Yeah, trust your guts, guys. My friend and I, both females, met up our first time back home from college. It was a surprisingly nice day outside in the middle of winter, so we decided to get lunch and eat outside. We found a park that had no one there and were sitting at a picnic table catching up when I see a scruffy looking guy in a large work van with no rear windows pull into the parking lot. I didn't pay a whole lot of attention to him at first, but I noticed he was moving around the outside of the van for a bit and he kept looking our way. He finally walked down the sidewalk toward us and passed by our picnic table and walked around the backside of the restroom building to look down the hill on the other side of it, very obviously casing out the place. He walked back to his van and me and my friend were discussing what we were going to do while I watched him open up the back of the van and start digging around it. He made a call on his cell phone and a few minutes later another male pulled up in a different car. He got out and started talking to the first guy, who not very discreetly pointed our direction. They immediately started walking toward us and my friend and I scooped what was left of lunch and fast walked out of the place while keeping an eye on them. One of the times in my life I could literally feel the hair on the back of my neck standing on end. It could have been nothing, but even now I feel pretty certain that they had something planned and I am glad we left. A friend and I were exploring an abandoned hospital, and the way it was set out was via a bunch of joined buildings. All the windows and doors were boarded up aside from one place where we could squeeze in past a loose board, and the layout meant that once we were in through there, we had access to pretty much the entire main building. Obviously it was darker than dark in there, and we have to remember which wing we'd come in from. We had flashlights so it wasn't too bad. But then we got to this room where there was a lot of cool stuff left behind. Beds, filing cabinets, etc. And we wanted to take pictures. So we turned the flashlights off so we could use the flash on the camera. We did this for 10 minutes or so, only seeing the room in the bright flash from the camera. Everything was cool, and then we both slowly became aware of noises. Usually an abandoned building is pretty quiet apart from water dripping and wind doing weird things. But we could hear floors creaking, doors creaking, the occasional scrape or crash of metal against floor. Basically it sounded like someone was blundering around in the dark. Now, the layout means that in order to get back to where we came in, we have to walk back towards the noise. There's only one route. We're getting freaked out so we start moving back through the rooms, stopping to listen all the while. Finally we get to the side hall that we came in from, and we bolt to the door at the end, finally risking turning the flashlights on and making noise. It's the wrong effing door. We stand there, listening to the footsteps get closer. We're frozen, standing in the dark, totally cornered. If whoever or whatever is making that noise comes down this short hall, we're effed. We wait and listen, holding our breaths. The scraping and shuffling approaches, slowly comes past, and then fades. We wait a bit, and then creep out of the hall and into the main building again. Carefully we move one hall over, where we can see a sliver of light from the loose board. We quietly make our way towards it. Then we hear an almighty scrape and bang behind us, as though someone tipped over one of the huge metal filing cabinets. It was loud. I yell time to go, and we sprint for the door, and there are clear footsteps right behind us. We launch ourselves through the loose board and down the overgrown path. Before taking a quick look back, we can't see anything through the small gap, but we do not stick around to see if that changes. Your comment made me want to both explore an abandoned building and not explore an abandoned building. I've wrote about this before. I was in a mall in Indonesia. Two tourists seemed to be having problems communicating with the cashier at a bookstore, so I helped translate. They wanted to buy me drinks to thank me. Told them it's not necessary, I have to get back to my mom soon. They told me to meet them for dinner. Told them I have to have dinner at home. They told me to sneak out, meet them after dinner. At this point, a bookstore staff noticed something was wrong and went up to question them. My sister dashed off while they were distracted, continued wandering around the mall, realized they were following us. To see if we were just paranoid, we ducked into a lingerie store since we figured two men won't usually need to go lingerie shopping together. They followed us in, ran so quickly back to the jewelry store our mom was at. The store had intimidating security guards. I guess that stopped those guys. I was 11. My sister was 10. We were playing hoops in a bad neighborhood. At some point one of the guys we were playing with got real nasty with the boys leave now. We ain't effing with you need to leave. Real aggressive etc. I had noticed a black BMW circling around the playground but nothing much else. All his friends started insulting us and pushing us etc. Which was weird, we were playing with them every weekend. I had given free tutoring classes to one of their brothers. We left, pissed. That was a damn good playground, and it felt special to play with the thugs, us being with the nerdy boys. Well, 15 minutes after we left, the black BMW shot at them, multiple casualties etc. My friend invited me to a seminar. Everyone would dressed in white shirt and black pant with black shoes. I was odd one out in here. For some weird reason, they were praising founder as if he was some kind of god. When I went into the auditorium, they were showing how these 17-year-olds were earning 200,000 rupees in a month, which is heck of a lot in India, translated to about $3,500, with their own bikes, cars and like that. Then it dawned upon me that this is eerily similar to one of the biggest scam that used similar business model about 7 years ago at the time. I really wanted to move out ASAP. My brainwashed friend was sitting a few row behind me. All of those involved in this marketing were required to do so for weird reason. It was cringy at best and exploitative at worst. Never caught up with him ever since. It was early 2019 and I was with my girlfriend at the time walking through the woods near my house as we often did. We were having an intense argument over something stupid when I noticed something through the trees off the trail to where we were walking. It was a man wearing a dark top and blue jeans. People came in this woods all the time, but what was weird is this man wasn't on any trails, he was in the middle of the overgrowth. I told her to shut up. I know, bad idea especially in an argument, and she just got madder at me. I told her again and told her to look in the direction I was looking. At first she didn't see what I was talking about, so I told her to look for blue since the man's jeans stood out the most. Then she saw him, a man walking through the overgrowth following us. I didn't know who this guy was, but he looked older. Still, I wasn't taking any chances, especially with my girlfriend there, so I told her let's go, we have to leave, and we walked faster. The trouble was we were in the middle of nowhere and far from any exits, and to be honest my girlfriend at the time wasn't exactly physically fit, so walking fast was hard for her. We walked as fast as she could and I kept looking behind us, and that old man was still following us in the overgrowth, obviously trying to remain hidden. We ended up leaving the woods and never going back there together. I've been back there many times since alone and have had a few strange encounters with another person that looks kinda like the old man, but I can't say for sure it's the same guy as he is always watching from afar. He never does anything besides follow from a distance, but I've seen him a total of 3 times. Spooky. I've told this story before, but it's been a while and may just get buried, but here goes. I was out in the country late at night taking some long exposure photographs of the Hale-Bopp comet as it approached the sun, which was marvelous by the way. I had driven out of town and just picked a dark, empty farmer's field to set up, nice and dark. I'm out there for a couple hours when I get this massive feeling of I need to leave now. I pack up my camera, tripod and lawn chair, throw it all in my car, get in and start the car. When the lights of the car come on, I see the wolf that was sitting 20 feet from where I was positioned, just sitting there staring at me. I've never gotten bigger chills in my life. Visiting Kowloon in Hong Kong, I ended up walking all day until my feet were killing me. It got dark outside and I was tired, so I decided to drop by a decent looking bar for a drink and a moment to rest my feet. It was all empty except a group of serious looking local men in suits. They kept leering at me the whole time. The most awkward beer I ever had. None of them said a word, but I got the message. You are not supposed to be here, Guelo.